Welcome back. So at the river story, yes, I'm expecting different approach, but whatever you do in your river story, whatever you do to stop people from drowning, whatever you do, have to be deliberate, have to be organized. Whatever you do, if you do not reach out to the decision makers, then as an advocate, you are wrong. So, Eleme River is, for instance, in a particular community. Who are the stakeholders? The first thing I expect you to do is to look for the stakeholders at Eleme and let them know, okay, people are getting drowned in this river. Let's say they are even careless, they don't even know, they don't care if anyone drowns. And then you need to, as an advocate, show them the implication. When people are drowned, a time will come that even the people that you need, for instance, the nurse you would need in the hospital, might be drowned in that river. And because she was drowned, you will lose your life. So, as an advocate, you have to come with, like I said earlier, demonstrated evidence to show that what you are doing really matters. So you map out your stakeholders at the river story, and then you begin to engage them and make that change happen. Only then will you, once the decision makers have acted upon it, maybe they build a bridge or community, whatever you do. Like I said, no right or wrong approach. However, there are key things and what we call advocacy circle that every advocate should be able to relate with. In your advocacy circle, there are key things you must look out for. And now, number one, the first thing you have to check in an advocacy circle is you have to, what we call, issue identification. You need to identify the issues. What are the issues? Sometimes we think we know what the issue is, but it might not be true. So how do you do that? You identify the problem that needs to be addressed. What problem are you trying to solve? Don't try to solve too many problems at a time. You might not be so successful at that. But when you set out to solve a particular problem in a particular way at a particular time, you identify what that specific problem is before you hit the road. Then next, the second thing you have to consider as an advocate is research and analysis. You need to do your research very well. Remember, I said to you earlier that advocacy has to do with demonstrated evidence. You need to show that this is happening, XYZ is happening, and because it is happening, YPD is happening, and because of that, this is what the causes and effects. You need to, what we call the problem tree analysis, for instance, the root causes, what the problem is, the root causes, and the effects. What happens because of that issue? You need to do your research very well, gather the necessary information, and ensure that the causes and effects of the problem are understood. Because if you don't understand the causes and the effects, you would have a gap. Let me share a story. I usually love to share that story in any of the trainings in advocacy training we have. There's a particular advocate who was very, wanted to provide leadership. He was a teacher at the community, and every day he watched his students come late to school. And when he asked them, they were like, "Oh, we had to go fetch water after school. We have to go fetch water." He was like, "How long does it take you to fetch water?" And they're like, we go like 3 hours going and coming. We take 3 hours to get water, you know for the family. And he was bothered. He came and he saw that where they used to, the stream was very far, and the advocate did not really go to do his research to know what are other things, the underlying factors, the cause and effect. And he was nice enough to come, and he gave them a borehole in that community, just at the city center. and the village center rather. And then he came many, the problem didn't change. Children were still coming late to school. And then he said, but I gave you borehole. You now have water close to you. They said, no, we have not been using the borehole. And our leaders have actually, our parents told us that anyone who fetch from that river would die. And so he had to go to the village and consult with the leaders and said, why do you tell children they will die if they fetch water from there? I brought this borehole to help so that they can get water. And they looked at him, and I think he put the cart before the horse. He did not actually come to them first to ask. So they told the young man, we appreciate this gesture, but in this community, as you can see, we all live in a single room, and we and our children, we and our spouses only have the time to be together when we send our children out to fetch water. This is the only time we have with our wives. So we, the men in the community, have to keep this tradition. Children have to go, because we also go to school. When the children go to school early, we also go to farm to go and work early. And so when they are back and we are back, we don't have time with our wives. We have to send them that far to get water. I know some of you are laughing, but this is the story of our life. Sometimes we do things, we don't ask if that is really what we should do, and we do them, and then we don't get them up. We do not. People do not appreciate the gesture, and that's not what they really want. That's not what they really need, or that's what they want, but that is not how they want it. So if this advocate had gone to do his research and analysis before then, what he would have probably done was to demarcate, have demarcation, demarcate the place where father and mother stays from the children, So that's how, and many stories like that. You will see a health facility, primary health, in Zaria. There's this very beautiful structure. When it was coming on, I was so excited. Oh, this is coming to the community. But years later, nothing is happening. No single nurse, nothing is happening. In fact, weed, grasses everywhere with time, and the building began to collapse because it was not in use. You don't engage the community. Don't just go into and want to make cause change to happen. You need to do your consultations very well. You need to have that research done. The third thing you need to do is to plan your research, plan your work very well. Of course, planning goes all through. You have to plan your research. You need to plan also, how are you going to do it. Are you going to go to the community? Are you going to give questionnaires? Sometimes you have to do a baseline. You have to give questionnaires, do a need assessment. Is this what you think they need? If not, you might have to go back to point one and identify the main issue. So when advocacy has been identified as an appropriate way of addressing the problem, a strategy needs to be formulated, which means that it is not every problem that advocacy can solve. It is not. But there are key issues that advocacy is the way out. And if you do advocacy, for instance, in the river story, if you say you want to go and learn how to swim and save people, how many people are you going to save in a day? You will be probably exhausted, you'll be burnt out, and then many people will still die because you are alone. But now, when you look at it in another way, you speak to the authorities, and they decide to create and build a bridge around, and people can go. Now, you didn't have to do that by yourself. You did the advocacy, and then decision makers took action, and everybody will now benefit from it. So, very key, you need to plan your strategy, formulate your strategy. Then it includes your goal, your objective. It has to be clear, very smart objective. You know the acronyms for SMART, right? Specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, time bound. Yeah, so you need to make them smart. You have to have your success indicators. You have to have your means of measurement. How do you measure that you are making impact? How do you your targets, your allies, the methods you want to use, the stakeholders, the activities, the risks, the assumptions, your time scale, and all the responsibilities. Who is doing what? Because I tell you, the advocacies that involve more people, the more the merrier, right? The more the merrier. The more people engage in your advocacy, the more likely you are to get a result, the results that you need. I remember when we were advocating for the Commissioner of Kaduna State in Nigeria to review the second chance policy. We didn't go alone. This is what we wanted, but we pitched our idea to other civil society organizations. We also invited the media, we spoke with them, and everybody said, oh, it's a good thing. So by the time we were advocating and we got to the commissioner of Kaduna State, it was easier for us to get the approval to review the education policy. So you need to plan all of that step by step, you know. And the fourth thing you have to do is take action using the range of methods and activities available. At some point, that's where you say awareness. You can raise awareness on the issue for those who are not aware and need to act. Uh, at some point, this will need to be agreed and coordinated with all those involved, with all your allies. There are those you call allies, in your stakeholders. Allies are people who have to partner with you on this cause and make it happen. So it needs to be coordinated. You don't want to go different people approaching the decision maker saying different things. You have to have one voice, and you need to be strategic. Then number five, the last on the list, monitor actions and evaluate the results throughout the cycle and decide what further action is appropriate or how advocacy could be done differently in the future. So you document your learnings. If you were not successful, you have to also document how you would have done it differently in the future, because these matters will arise, and then just like in our advocacy towards uh, buildings to be accessible for persons with disability. You do the advocacy, and then decision makers, yes, they are okay, they are doing the ramps, and you go around and you see the ramps, and the ramps are like this, and matters are rising, and that ramp is not accessible. You will know that really your advocacy did not really solve the issue, because there are ramps, but persons with disability can't access them, so the ramps are not accessible. So in that case, you know that you have to find a better way to do it, which is by advocating for standard accessibility, which is having a tool where whoever is building will know how to do that ramp. I'm just giving an example. So in your evaluation, if you have failed, for instance, in the first attempt, then you have to go back to point one. Remember, we call it advocacy circle, yeah? So it's a circle because, like a circle, if you get to point five and evaluate, you are not successful, you need to go back to number one, which is what? Issue identification. You identify issues. Sometimes there are fresh issues, sometimes there are reasons why you didn't make it, and sometimes you go and then your assumptions and all of that, a lot of things change, then you have to start all over again. I tell you, advocacies have proven to change lives. Advocacies have proven to be the source of comfort for a lot of people. Without advocacy, I tell you, the world will not be a better place. Why should leaders involve in advocacy? Why? We know that advocacy can make things happen, can make things work, can make decision makers, be accountable. Sometimes our advocacies help. For instance, when you talk about governance, good governance, and you talk about accountability, and uh, you, you you know, for instance, you cannot ask government to account for what they do not count. So as an active citizen, it is your right to begin to advocate that we need government to be accountable. We have given you certain rights, all of our privileges. We said, okay, we voted you in. So we need advocates at this time where the price of things are going high, the inflation rate is becoming disturbing. We need advocates that can be able to be strategic to solve issues all across Africa, not just in Nigeria, because this issue of hunger, issue of unemployment, inflation, what we do not know, or we know and we have not really been looking at it, hunger can be a push and a pull factor for extremism, violent extremism, for violence. When someone is hungry for just nothing, they can do anything. The desperation is so much. We're watching at a video, and we saw how someone, broad daylight, people were around, and he was trying to steal tires, uh steal battery from a car. Another person parked his car outside, came out, and the four tires were gone. People are desperate. Another of colleague of my husband came out to drive her car, and the car is not there. Crime is increasing. We need advocates to rise. We need advocates to begin to solve the root causes. Why is this hunger becoming palpable? You walk on the street, you see people hungry. It just shows that there's a problem, and if it is not solved, is a time bomb waiting to happen. And so we need to have advocates that will be strategic enough to deal with this issue from the root causes. For instance, issues like unemployment. How do we want to solve the unemployment issues? We need people who are strategic, people that we want to see to cause the change that we desire to happen. So don't forget, in advocacy, we always say there are keywords. I remember at the beginning of the training, we spoke about uh, um, accompanying. Some say advocacy is about awareness. I said it's okay. But keywords in advocacy: empowering. When you're empowering people, giving them their voice, advocating with them, you're empowering them. Advocacy keywords has to do with mediating, coming in between, negotiating, networking. How will I forget networking? You can't do it alone. But in advocacy, there's something we say, that even if you don't know that decision maker, but there's somebody that knows someone that knows that decision maker you're trying to reach. So that's when networking is key. You need to begin to look, okay, how do I get, for instance, to the governor of my state, or the president of my country? How do I put this, my demonstrated evidence, to show that even if you don't do something about the cost of living, if you don't do something about this, the country is going down the drain, and you also will not be spared. So you need to learn how to network. You need to lobby at some point, when it has to do with a new law. How to lobby, meet your House of Representatives and say, okay, this is what I think. If we have this law that will help XYZ, is going to help, show them how the law will benefit. They're like, okay, can you help with the draft? You can network with people who can draft something for them to begin to share, and see if it can be passed into a law or policy. Advocacy has to do with mobilizing, has to do with petitioning, it has to do with bargaining, it has to do with representing. And that is why we want leaders to begin to represent everywhere they are. Don't just live your life like nothing matters. If it's okay with you, if it's not okay with the person next door, I tell you, because it's not okay with him, one day there's gonna be a backlash, and then you think that, okay, I'm safe, I drive my car, I'm okay. No, now people are being kidnapped on the road. People are being, people cannot even sleep. You know, violence, gunshots, and all of that. We are hoping that with this course you have taken, you'll be able to be deliberate enough to cause that change you want to see, and you can start by being an advocate. We at BVPRI are always available for you in terms of giving you all the resources and tools you need, the mentoring you need to make your advocacy to count in this time that we are in. And for those of us, who want to just do it informally, it's okay. But for those who really want it to take it to the next step, okay, I want to even register a non-profit organization. We'll guide you, we'll show you, and then we'll also refer you to another course. Maybe you have had that course before you came here. That's the how to run and sustain your NGO, and then you need also course in grant writing, where you can be able to write, because in advocacy can be expensive. In BBPRI, we were fortunate last year to get a support, and we wrote proposal and we got a grant to be able to advocate for out of school married adolescent. That could be you getting that grant you need to push your advocacy to the next level. So never, never, never stop what you are doing. Don't forget, some of us can be gender advocates in this BBPRI. We do all we do in the gender lens, but you might not be a gender advocate. You might be something else, or an accessibility advocate for persons with disabilities. Yeah, anything you want to do, or you want people to be out of drugs and whatever it is, but just know that influencing the powerful has to do with educating the decision makers. You need to educate them. Sometimes they do not know. They rely on you with your information, the information you have. They rely on you to speak to them. They rely on you to be able to take that action that they want, and about their responsibility to uphold. Like I said, they have that responsibility towards us, the government, decision maker. They have that responsibility to uphold the rights of citizens of Nigeria, of citizens in Africa, of vulnerable and oppressed people. And it encourages accountability, and can adjust power relationships. Advocacy, I tell you, you need to be speaking out and communicating in clear terms. Make your evidence good, evidence-based advocacy. That's what we are pushing now. Don't just be talking. Come with your evidence, and we know that things will be better. Um, I would, there's another exercise we'll give in the course of this training, but for now, I think I'll stop with this. There's this quote: never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. The only thing that ever has is a group of thoughtful citizens, committed citizens. That's the people we want to raise. We want to see people that are thoughtful, and never doubt that this small group of thoughtful people, that thoughtfulness can change the world. Don't stop that idea you have, that advocacy idea that has popped in your spirit as we speak. Don't stop. Take action. Another quote says, do not let what you cannot do tear from your hand what you can do. Do not let what you cannot do tear from your hand what you can do. For instance, you can know how many people are our population in Nigeria. The hunger rate is high. You can't give everybody food. How many people can you feed? But what you can do is to get to the source, the decision makers, the people who sit on tables, and the cost of fuel goes up. And when cost of fuel goes up, food goes up, transport goes up. Those people who sit down and determine the cost of fuel, those are the decision makers you need to get to. And those are the people that you need to engage to make them to make that decision, and and change situations. I'll take a last quote, and the quote says, I'll take a last quote, and in this last quote, I might not say it verbatim. It's from Desmond Tutu. He says that if you see injustice, and you do nothing about it, you have taken the side of the oppressor. So let's say, for instance, you're not the person doing the injustice, but you fold your arm and you're watching because you can't, according to you, you can't do nothing about it. No, we just heard from that quote. Don't let what you cannot do tear from your hand the little you can do. The little actions matter. So if you see injustice and you do nothing about it, you have taken the side of the oppressor. So many of us will leave this training moving from the side of the oppressor to the side of the advocates. Yes, that is the side we want you to be on. So in the chat box, if there's any advocacy idea coming to your mind, put on the chat box. This is what I want to advocate for. Uh, we want to we want to see you on the other side. We want to engage with you. We want to be part of your success story. We want to be part of what you are doing to cause that change. Once again, I want to thank you for attending this course, and I hope to see you in the next course. Thank you very much for your time. And from me and the BVPRI team, I'll say bye for now. But let's engage. We continue to engage. We continue to do work together. We continue to encourage ourselves. And yes, we continue to advocate. Thank you so much.